Every morning at this construction site, someone found the same thing in the wet concrete. Small paw prints and no idea whose they were. The site foreman crouched beside the tracks, running a thumb along the edge while the crew traded guesses about what had wandered through overnight. By the second week, it wasn't just prints. Lunch bags were torn open and tools left in neat piles were somehow scattered by morning. Frank wanted pest control, called that afternoon. Whatever was getting into the site at night was a liability he didn't want explained. Wade spoke up before Frank could reach for the phone. He'd grown up around rescue animals and asked for a few days first. Frank agreed reluctantly. 3 days. Then he'd make the call himself. Wade nodded and turned toward the stacked pipes at the lot's edge. That evening, Wade stayed after the crew left, walking the site slowly, flashlight low, following the trail of prints toward the pipes. There, tucked deep beneath the pipes, was a puppy. Impossibly small, his coat dull and thin, staring back with wide, frightened eyes. The puppy flinched at the light and scrambled backward, vanishing deeper into the gap, small body pressed flat against the cold metal pipes. Wade didn't follow. He clicked off the flashlight, backed away slowly, and sat down at a distance, giving the puppy room to breathe. The den was nothing more than dirt and a scrap of flattened cardboard, wedged between cold pipes, no warmth in it at all. The next day, an excavator roared to life nearby, and the puppy pressed himself into the corner of the pipes, trembling at the sound. Watching from his brake, Wade realized the puppy startled at every engine, every shout, like he'd never once heard a gentle voice. That afternoon, Wade set a small bowl of food near the pipes, then walked away without looking back, letting the puppy choose. The next day, Wade sat with his lunch a distance from the pipes, eyes down, giving the puppy space to decide what came next. The puppy's nose peeked out first, twitching toward the bowl, but he stayed pressed against the pipes as long as Wade was there. Days folded into a week. Wade moved the bowl a little closer each morning, never rushing, never reaching, just letting trust build slowly. One morning, the bowl was completely empty. The first real sign the puppy had come out on his own. While no one watched, little by little, the puppy edged closer, until a sudden hammer strike sent him bolting back into the shadows between the pipes. Wade started talking to him quietly, never looking straight at him. Just a low, steady voice the puppy could learn to trust. By the second week, the puppy sat only a few feet away during breaks, watching Wade closely, but never quite closing the gap. Other workers started noticing the routine. Wade, sitting quietly by the pipes every break, and something small watching him from the shadows. One of the crew left an old folded blanket near the pipes quietly, without saying a word, and never mentioned it again. By the third week, the puppy sat at the very edge of Wade's reach, closer than ever, and for once he didn't retreat. Then, without warning, a stack of steel pipes collapsed nearby with a deafening crash, dust rising as the whole crew turned toward the sound. The puppy bolted the instant the crash hit, sprinting flat out across the open site until he vanished somewhere among the stacked equipment. When the shift ended, Wade stayed behind, walking every corner of the site, calling softly, finding no trace of the puppy anywhere. A few of the crew stayed late to help, flashlights sweeping the dark lot. Everyone quietly worried they'd never find him again. Near the far fence line, Wade finally caught a flicker of movement in a narrow gap and heard the faintest, trembling whimper. He knelt down slowly in the dark and found the puppy wedged into the tightest corner, shaking, eyes wide, but finally back within sight. Wade didn't reach for him. He simply sat down on the cold ground beside the gap and stayed there until full dark. The next morning, the puppy crept out on his own, step by step, until his nose finally touched Wade's open, waiting hand. For the first time, the puppy let Wade's hand rest gently against him, his whole tense body slowly easing, ears softening at last. Wade held out a piece of food on his open palm, and after a long pause, the puppy finally took it gently. As he ate, his tail gave one small, tentative wag, the very first sign of happiness anyone at the site had ever seen. Word spread fast across the site. By lunch, half the crew had gathered nearby, smiling as the puppy ate calmly beside Wade. The crew built him a proper shelter near the break area, cardboard walls, the old blanket, and a bowl that stayed full. By the following week, the puppy sat right among the whole crew at every break, no longer hiding, simply one of them now. The excavator roared to life again nearby, and the puppy flinched. But this time he pressed close to Wade instead of running. One of the workers joked that the puppy never left Wade's shadow. And just like that, the whole crew started calling him Shadow. In the weeks that followed, Shadow trotted after Wade, everywhere on site, tail held high, never more than a few steps behind. By autumn, Shadow looked like a different dog, coat fuller, steps steady and strong, full of a playful energy no one had seen before. As the site neared completion, Wade looked out over the nearly finished building, then down at Shadow, wondering what would happen to him next. That evening, Wade sat with Shadow, long after the rest of the crew had gone, and quietly decided he wasn't going anywhere without him. The next day, Wade told the crew he was taking Shadow home for good. Every one of them broke into a grin. Wade laid an old towel across the passenger seat of his truck and set a brand new collar and leash on the dash. On his last morning at the site, Shadow waited by the truck door on his own, tail wagging steadily, completely ready to go. Shadow trotted straight up to the truck, without a moment's hesitation, his front paws already reaching up toward the open passenger seat. Wade lifted him gently into the seat, tucking the towel around him, making sure he was settled and comfortable before closing the door. Shadow sat calmly in the passenger seat, ears relaxed. None of the fear from those early weeks left anywhere in his posture now. Wade turned the key, and the engine rumbled to life. The same kind of sound that once sent him running, now barely noticed. As the truck pulled slowly away, a few of the crew stopped what they were doing and waved from the gate, smiling. Shadow looked out the window at the road sliding past, calm and content, completely at ease with the world moving around him. The truck grew smaller down the long road until it disappeared entirely. A small construction site mystery, finally and quietly, solved for good.